This is the To the Throne podcast. I am Dakota Kingery.
And I'm Dan Santana.
What is up?
How you doing?
Howdy.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome to the To the Throne podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're grateful wherever you are. Maybe you're driving your car. Maybe you're doing laundry.
Working out?
You could be working out. Maybe you are walking your dog or someone else's dog, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully they know that you're walking their dog, because otherwise
I'll be out
you
here
stole a
stealing,
dog.
Straight up stealing dogs.
I'm not you're a pet person.
What's the most dogs you've ever walked at one time?
One. My parents didn't breed dogs like yours did. So
That's fair.
what do you mean?
I feel like that's something I'm just gonna go asking people. What's the most dogs you've ever walked at one time?
yeah, that's strange.
It's a good thing.
How about cats? How many cats have you walked? You know?
I've never walked a cat. I don't
No,
think.
I'm not really a pet person. So everyone out there, don't hate me. But I'm not a huge pet person.
One of my dreams is to have like a big old like Komodo dragon on a leash. Just walk it down the street one day.
Okay. That's fun. Anyway,
Anyways, welcome so much to the podcast.
Komodo dragons. Let's go.
Komodo dragon, straight up. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for everything that you do for us. I don't know what that means, but thank you.
Well, your presence.
Yes.
Thank you for your if you're
Thank
here
you for
listening,
your support.
you're here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Welcome. Just recap. The last episode we talked about the past.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
Yeah,
You feel good about it?
it was great.
It was good. I think it's, I really enjoyed it. I think it's so important to really look into your past and recognize some of the things that are influencing your present, maybe in a bad way, maybe in a good way. But just being aware of the effects the past can have on you, you
Yeah.
know? I think it's just important. So go back and listen to that. You will need to listen to that to listen to this one. So if you haven't, check it out.
Boom.
Yeah. So today, we're sort of going in the same lane.
Mhm.
And we're talking about the present.
Yes.
So past, present. Maybe you can guess what the next one is. Maybe not. I don't know. But today we're talking about the present and how, even out of all three of the sort of elements of time, past, present, and future, I'd say this is the most important one.
It is.
What do you think?
It is, clearly, yes. It is the most important one.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
For sure. Because this one influences both your past and your future.
It does.
Because this is the only one that you can really control. You
Yes.
have some element of control over your future, but you obviously have no element of control of your past. But
Right.
if you control your present, then you can sort of feed both.
Yes, you can use your past,
Yeah.
right? To help you control your present, which will help you the outcome in the future.
Yeah, you
right?
can't change your past,
Right.
but you can change your present that will influence your past
That's it.
to give you a better future.
Yeah. So yes, I think the present is the most important thing. Many of us have, we know this as we grow up, right? There's sometimes when you get older, you have to do things that you don't like, right? You start going through life and you're like, man, I don't like this. I don't want to do this, right? And even not to get too far into the future here, but a lot of our present sometimes is affected by our past, yes, but it's also affected by our future. And like we were talking about, last podcast, as the new year happens, right? Resolutions happen. People want to work out. What keeps a lot of people from working out, or maybe doing something productive in life, doesn't have to be working out, is the thought of doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Is the future me of like, I don't want to go through that pain that it takes to work out. Like I lost it over the past 6 months or something.
Right.
Now I got to start from scratch. I don't want to have to like struggle.
Right.
Right. And so it's the thought of what your future is going to be
Yeah.
that actually affects your present. But if you take action in your present, right, your future will eventually look different.
Yeah.
Right. And not your immediate future, like, 30 minutes from now after the workout, right? But 30 days from now,
Yeah.
right? And 3 months from now, you'd be like, wait, I'm not where I was, right?
Yeah.
So the present clearly is the most important thing because it's where we have the most effect
Yeah.
in both areas.
It's the only one that you can really change, and it's the one that you can determine everything else, like you said. And I something that there's a quote, because we love quotes, right?
Yeah. Dakota loves quotes.
I love quotes. Dan loves quotes as well.
Only if they're from The Office.
Correct. But there's a quote from Kung Fu Panda that's just so good.
Mm-hmm.
Also, soundtrack from Kung Fu Panda is incredible, and Hans Zimmer did it, so that's why it's great.
Yes.
But there's a quote that's, it basically says, it's perfect for this podcast, yesterday is history,
Yeah.
tomorrow's a mystery, but today is a gift, and that is why they call it the present.
That's it.
And so, I think if you just, it's really all about focus is really what it is, you know? If you focus and choose, something we talked about in the last episode is if you look at your past with thankfulness, right?
Yeah.
You look at it as like, you know what, I'm thankful. This is a gift for me to be able to see my past in this life from the Lord's view, and you get that by going to the throne, right? To see his perspective. But it also informs you for your present. So you can know like, okay, what can I change, or even what can I sow into now
Right.
that can feed the future that I really want, and
Exactly.
like, we talked about this a few podcasts ago, but there's this empowerment of grace, and you get grace by going to the throne. If you don't know that by now, Hebrews 4:16 is we come boldly to the throne
Yes.
of grace to obtain mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. And so you get grace by going to the throne, but grace empowers you to do what God has asked you to do.
Yeah.
Right? It's an abundant, just free gift that the Lord gives us. And so, but we get grace to help us with our present and our future and our past.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's really important when you look at now, as you go to the throne, you get God's perspective for your life. So you can see, okay, where does he want me to go? And then reverse engineer that and say, okay, what do I need to be doing now? Lord, give me grace for now to do what you want me to do now that can play into what you want me to do in the future.
Yeah.
And so you get that by going TTT.
That's it, to the throne.
TTT, baby.
And, there's only so much we can reverse engineer, because it does take a level of faith, right?
Amen.
Because, yes, we do know, okay, this is what you want us to do, but we don't always know the outcome of what that is.
Right.
And many, many times it's different than what we even imagined it
Yeah.
would be, right? And how it would look, right? Like God spoke to you, right, a few years ago that you were to move to Nashville.
Yeah.
How does it look now after you moved?
Ooh,
But
it's way better.
But it was also hard, and
Yes.
it looks different than you maybe thought it would
It
have.
looks more than I could have imagined.
Right,
It's better than I could imagine. And it's really just started.
right. But it looks different.
Yeah.
Right? Because
always different.
just so we can clarify too, you were married then when he spoke to you.
Yep.
Right? And so that's another thing too.
And now I'm not, FYI.
Yes, overcoming. So like when you think about that, right? And say, okay, yes, I had to go through this and you're present, and you did walk through it. We walked through it together, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you could imagine what it would have been like, right? But it looks totally different than you thought it would. And we've talked about this before. So before we have these podcasts, we always talk. And the reason why we had these podcasts is because we're just sitting around having lunch, and we're like, we just need to record what we're talking about because this can help somebody.
Yeah.
Because it's helping us,
Yeah.
But I brought up the idea of like seeds, We've been talking about seeds, and seeds are super important. And I think the present, what seeds do we have right now, right? What seeds has God given us that we can sow, just like you said, in our present, that we need to sow and steward and do that whole thing, right? For it to become a future, right?
Yeah.
A better future for us. And seeds are important. We talked about this last podcast, episode. But it's interesting that the past can feed the present, which can help the future. And what's funny is I believe, and there's been seeds that have been placed in you as a 10-year-old. I don't even know that. I'm just speaking that there has been, right? That are still in seed form.
Yeah.
There's dreams that God has given you still in seed form.
Yeah.
Is that seed worthless now?
No.
But the seed's power only happens when you actually plant it,
Right.
And when you
water
take an action, and that's the present. It can't happen in the past, can't happen in the future. It's got to be present. So I think a lot of us have things that we were like, man, I do feel like this is something. and maybe your past, it hasn't looked like you thought it would, right? And maybe it's not for the good, maybe it is for the bad. But you still have these seeds that you're holding on to, and you got a pocket full of seeds, right? And you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to, hold on to these things until this looks better or until whatever, when you don't realize the power is actually right there with you, but it takes you taking it out of your pocket, putting it in the ground in the present. And what's funny is, not to go too far into the future, because we'll speak about that on the next episode, but when you plant a seed, let's just talk naturally. When you plant a seed, right? What is your job? So you plant a seed for a tree or whatever it is. Like, can you think about that seed growing and make it grow?
No.
Can you I'm going to think real hard tonight and have that thing grow?
I don't have any control over it.
There's no control, but the control you have is planting the seed, right? And there's some stewardship level to things, right? Like for crops and watering and things. But guess what? God has created the sun, right? He's created the earth with all the nutrients it needs, right? And water, right? And all the things it's all there. All the elements are there. But what's lacking is that seed actually being put into motion.
Mm.
And so I think that's why the present's so important, because I want to encourage people right off the bat here. What seeds do you have in your pocket that you've been carrying around for years or even days, right? That you're like, you know what? This is something that I'm supposed to sow. This is something that I'm supposed to work on and not that it comes to pass, right? But work on just putting it in the ground and saying, okay, God, I'm partnering with you this now, and you have to take over the part of the growth, right? But I'm saying I'm going to put it in the ground, which takes work. And again, some people are afraid of what it's going to become too, because if you plant an apple tree, you're eventually going to get apples.
Yeah.
And guess what? That comes with work.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to eventually pick apples. And if you don't, pick them off the tree, you're going to pick them off the floor or whatever. Like, there is work that comes with it. Now there's a harvest that comes with it, which is work. And so I think sometimes the fear of the future can be in the present, because, hey, if I do this, just like I said, it's going to mean more work for me, right? But we have a grace that empowers us for that work.
Mm. Woo! I think we could just end it right there.
No,
no, we're not gonna end it right there. But that was everyone get out your buckets and just fill them with gold right there. That is so good, and it's so funny that when you were talking, I had this. I don't even know if I told you this. I feel like I did, but I had this experience. I got the opportunity to work on the design team at Passion Conference in Atlanta recently.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Beginning of the year, man. Amazing.
So just leading right into the year, being able to be a part of putting on that event, and
right.
So much fun. But I had a really special moment at Passion. I'm standing and watching one of the sets there. I forget whose set it was, but I was standing and watching one of the sets. And my brother, he had flown down to visit me. And he walked away for a minute. I think he went to the bathroom, and he walked back, and he was walking with a friend that I hadn't seen in 10 years. And this was an executive pastor that was a part of my dad's church when I was growing up. And so, but I hadn't seen him. It's probably been 10, 12. It's been forever, I feel like. And I could not believe that I'd seen, I was standing here, because we've had no communication. I never thought I'd see this guy ever again or talk to him, let alone run into him in a stadium of 60,000 people. Somehow he found me and my brother. So it's sort of insane. So he comes up to me, and we're just talking, catching up. And then he says to me, he said, Dakota, I've been praying for you. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I just want to let you know that when you put out your testimony video, he's like, I watched it, and then I felt in my spirit that I just need to have me and the whole church start praying for you and praying into your life. And that to me was so special, because here's a guy I haven't seen in 10 years, never thought I'd ever speak to ever again. Somehow the Lord ordained us to connect in this stadium of 60, I'm not exaggerating, 60,000 people.
Right.
And for him to have watched that testimony video that I didn't know if anyone that was ever actually going to watch it.
Right.
And then find me and come up to say to me that I've been praying for you.
Yeah.
And I've had people praying for you. that I didn't think I'd ever speak to ever again. And so like that is the power of a seed, for him to see that video and say, you know what, it really moved me and it really touched me and like it inspired me. But that's what happens when you're with your seeds. And we can go back and look at the story and the episode 1 after and be like, we didn't know if anyone's actually gonna listen to these episodes or watch that video. But you don't know when you're sowing the seed what it can turn into.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You can understand the power of it, like this is an apple seed, or this is an orange tree, and it can grow into, okay, that's the fruit. But I believe that sometimes, like when we sow seeds in the spirit and in the kingdom, that they can turn into trees and gardens that we have no idea how big they can grow.
Right.
And like, what does a seed do? It creates food. Like,
well, it creates more seed.
It creates fruit, and it creates more seed. And so, you know what that does? It actually feeds more people. If you grew an apple tree, like, could you eat all the apples on that one tree? Like, no.
Of course not.
You have to share them. And so, like, that's what I love is, like, sometimes we don't know the power of the seeds that we can sow and actually where they can reach,
Yeah.
You look at a forest, and it's like, that came from one seed that turned into 10 seeds, that turned into 100 seeds. And then it turns into a forest, but no one went out and be like, I'm planting a forest. It's like, no, one seed can turn into a whole forest. And so we don't realize sometimes that that's the power of our seeds, that they can reach way farther than we can imagine. And then the seeds can actually come back and feed us.
Yes.
Like that moment between me and like my friend, like that fed me, and it's inspired me and actually planted more seeds in me. And so like sometimes we don't know, like we might need seeds in the future that can only come by us planting the seed we have now.
Right. And what it looked like naturally for us planting that seed was we sat together after the aftermath of what happened to you. And we were like, this is what To the Throne should be, is literally like, listen, I've gone, through this situation, and I literally have had to go to the throne to get me through this. Because if not, who knows where you'd be now, right?
Yeah.
And so we had to sit down, talk about it, dream a little bit, plan. We had to buy gear, right? We had to plan for that. It was months. That's the planting part.
Yeah.
That's the planting of the seed. We had to record it, and we have to edit it, and we have to do all the things that we did for it.
Yeah.
And then release it.
Yeah.
And after the release, that was us finally like putting the dirt over it, right?
Yeah.
And saying, okay, wherever it goes,
yeah, that wasn't the seed part. It was months before it.
Yes. And so that's the point. Like we were planning it. We were preparing for the seed to be planted, right?
Yeah.
And tilling the ground and all the stuff that you have to do, right? And so then, yes, we stepped on in faith, didn't know who would watch it. And that's one story of many stories you've told me about people randomly watching it.
Yeah.
Not even know. There's so many people who watch that we don't even know, right? That may never even be able to tell you that they were moved by it, right? And again, it's a testimony. We all have it. But that's what we want To the Throne to be about as well, right? And so when you look at seeds, think about this too. And this is maybe like, we were talking about the Eternals movie, and how some people liked it, some people didn't, whatever. I just saw it when it came on Disney Plus. I didn't actually see it in the movie theater. But, I said, this, it may not have been everyone's favorite, whatever, but I can see, right, like where it's going. You can see that it's some seed for the future, right? And maybe it wasn't as perfect as we would like it to be, because we want everything perfect now.
Right.
We want everything to be Spider-Man No Way Home.
Good.
And good luck, because that's just, and even that took how many years to get there?
20 years.
But anyway, but not to go too far into the movie thing, just thinking about, okay, some things, start off not looking like we think they're going to be, but they're for another purpose, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to actually be like, well, that was a big part of where everything's going in the Marvel universe, right? And so then I think about this, like we talk about seed, where did these first seeds come from? Think about this, like, at some point there was one seed in the ground, right? There's one seed, and it made other seeds, and we are literally eating the fruit off of those seeds.
Yeah.
from the very beginning of Earth. We are eating because those seeds made more seeds that made more seeds that made more seeds. And now when we have apples now, they're from the seeds that started way back then.
Wow.
And so you're talking about, I mean, how many people have eaten off of a one seed? How many people have eaten off of that one tree?
Wow.
Right? We all do, by the way.
That's powerful.
We all, right, around the world. That's what's crazy is that there was one seed at one point, right?
Yeah.
And so when we're called to do something, it is way more, it is way less about us. We think it is. It way more about who it can affect.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when we're called from God to do something. And in this age of microwave fame, if you will, you know what I mean? Like, do these two things and hit 30 seconds and you're famous on Instagram, you know? That's fine. That's all good for you. You know, everyone wants a blue check, you know, like that matters to God. And so it doesn't, by the way, you know, it may matter to somebody out here for, you know, like getting a doctorate, cool. That may matter, but God sees your heart.
Yeah.
And if your heart's not for him, then it doesn't really matter.
Throw
right?
it all away.
Right. Like it does not matter. And so, but nevertheless, like we want things to be microwave. We want fast food. We want, you know, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like it's the things we do have to be generational, like in our mindset, and have to be based in legacy.
Yeah.
They can't be. We are living in the legacy of people who have came before us hundreds of years. You know, that we can sit in this room together. You know, and what are we doing now? We want to plant seeds to create a legacy for the future. And so, what seeds, right? Even now, like it inspires me to be like, yes, there are things that I remember somebody said about me. There are things that, like positively, you know, that I've said, hey, you know, this is what your future's going to look like, or this is what you're going to do, or this is, and I believe it's from the Lord, right?
Yeah.
What seeds are in our hand right now that we need to be like, it's going to take work. It's going to take planning. It's going to take saving. It's going to take me, you know, doing something out of my comfort zone to come to pass.
Well, it's like, I read a statistic recently about, like getting better 1%, getting 1% better every single day.
Yeah. There's a book, there's a whole theory on that.
Yeah,
1%
like you
every
just
day.
get 1% better, and you end up like becoming like 38%. Well, it actually becomes more because math.
Yes.
Essentially, if you get 1% better out of 100%, then 1% of 101% is more than 1% of 100%. So it actually compounds. So after a year, you end up getting like significantly better just by going 1% extra like every single day. But on the flip side of that, if you subtract 1% every single day, then you actually, it goes obviously significantly in the opposite direction. So you end up becoming like significantly worse in a year just by 1%.
Right.
And so I think that 1% is the seed sowing. You know what I mean? You're not just maintaining, but you're sowing. You know, sowing is like it's multiplying, right?
Yeah.
It's like doing a little bit extra so that you have some. It's like saving. You know what I mean? It's like you save some money, save a little bit of money here. When you need it, you have it, right? But if you just maintain, when you need it, you don't have anything to rely on. And so I think, you know, for me in my life, I'm so thankful that my parents raised me in a way that is like it's natural to sow seeds, even when I don't realize it. It could be a compliment to someone. It could be buying someone coffee or buying someone lunch or whatever it is. Like those things are seeds, and so I'm so thankful that like I've been raised that way, and that's been instilled in me because now, like when I need it, I can reap.
Yeah.
You know, the fruit of sowing those seeds over years and years and years. And so, you know, to even take it further is like, wisdom is saving for a rainy day, right? Wisdom is multiplying what you have, right? It's the parable of the talents, you know, and it's not just holding on. The one that had one talent and buried it in the ground and did nothing with it actually got their talent taken away.
Yeah.
And the person that multiplied actually gained a talent from the person that didn't do anything with it.
Well, in this case, not to like, not going to cut you off, but in this case, the ground is your pocket.
Exactly.
With the seed.
Yes.
It's a place that it actually can't multiply.
Yeah. And so like it's, you know, what it's what Dan said earlier. It's like, what are you carrying that you need to sow right now? And we just believe and we ask the Holy Spirit that, like, as you're listening to this podcast, that, like, the Lord will illuminate those things. And it will be super clear that when we speak these words, that whatever it is in your mind, it goes to, like, the Holy Spirit will show it to you, and you can say, oh, I need to work on that. I need to be more kind, or I need to be more wise with my finances, or I need to be, I need to keep my word more, or I need to be more consistent, or I need, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or I need to, like, start this project and be faithful with it, or whatever it is, because everyone needs to get better at sowing seeds. Everyone needs to be reminded of being a planter. And something else that I think is really interesting is I heard a word a long time ago that I thought that's always stuck with me is it was essentially the thought behind, like, we as Christians need to get better at being okay with not reaping the benefits of our seeds.
Yeah.
Because a lot of seeds, there's plants out there that take years and years and years to yield fruit. And I think sometimes we, in this very fast-paced culture, we want to sow a seed and we want to reap it the next day. And I think that we just need to get better at sowing seeds and being like, you know what? If I don't ever see the fruit from that, it's okay, because my job was to sow it into someone.
Yeah.
It's the natural process. It's the process that God's created. Like, when you sow a seed and you water it, it will yield fruit. Now, whether you're around to pick that fruit or not, it's a legacy thing.
Yeah.
Whether you're around to pick that fruit and to harvest it.
Benefit off of it, right?
It doesn't matter. But God's asked you to sow seeds, not and it's that circle of life, because
you know why?
Why?
Because we eat seeds, like we eat from the seeds that people sow, right? That they didn't get an opportunity.
And I believe that is called favor.
That's it.
Yeah. So that's exactly where I was going.
Yes.
I know in my life, especially over the last year and a half, like, of living here and going through what I went through, like, I've harvested seeds that I have not planted and have not been around, because, it's just like, when you are obedient, the Lord takes care of you. And one of the ways he takes care of you is by saying, you know what, you weren't around to work for this.
Right.
But that's the grace on your life, is like, I want to give this to you, even though you weren't around to toil for it, even though you didn't sow it, or you had no part to play in this. But that's what grace is an unmerited gift to you.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Great conversation about the present. Thank you for joining, everyone. We've talked about the past. We've talked about the present. It's very important, right? But it leads to our future. Yeah. And so next episode, we're going to just wrap it up with the future, and what does the future hold for us? Yeah. And, I know the future is bright for us. We believe in the Lord, and we know that he gives us hope in the future, Amen. So thank you guys for joining us. Again, like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. Rate us on Apple Podcasts. That would be amazing. Also, follow the YouTube page. We kind of talked about it. More content up there now. So, like, follow us on that YouTube page. Believe me, we'll talk next episode about it. But, there are things that we have planned that we really want you guys to come with us, and experience this, because this is, if we talk about seed and everything, like the things that are going to be starting to develop, that, to me, every video that goes on YouTube is an apple off the seed that we planted, And so every piece of merch that we release is another apple. It's another piece of fruit, right?
That's a seed at the same time.
Yes, and it's a seed to lead to a conversation, right? Or to lead to healing, or whatever it's going to be. So follow us on YouTube. Check out our updated website, our updated and simplified website at tothethrone.co for more information on things. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for going to the throne.
Peace out.
Later.